So why should we be repurposing content? And more, firstly, what is content repurposing? It's not just duplicating this content on a different platform. That's not it. It's about, okay, reusing the content, but also transforming it and adapting it to the different platforms and to the different ways. I think that's the most important part, is really adjusting it and transforming maybe the form, it may be the length, maybe just the format. Karim, you might have a couple of takes on that.
Yeah, I think I love the point that you highlighted, that this is not just a way to basically duplicate what you already have. You're really creating new value. And I know a lot of folks sometimes say, but I've already posted this. I really don't want to bombard my audience with the same thing. Well, we're going to go through some stats that will hopefully convince you that it is worth actually repeating the message, specifically if you're bringing it and presenting it in a new format that might engage people versus the original format that it was shared in.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the poll. So there was a first poll that was pushed out. Do you already repurpose content, your webinar content? And 53% do it sometimes, but want to do it more. So this is where we're going to get into it. And 40% don't do it, but are planning to. So a couple of stats. Do you want to jump into them?
Yeah, for sure. So these are just some stats to help us wrap our heads around the state of content today. I read somewhere that you scroll through 300 feet of content a day on an average newsfeed. I think this came from Facebook, but you can probably extrapolate that for other formats. But as you can see here, folks, there's a 74% drop-off rate for videos that are 30 to 60 minutes, according to Wistia. There's also a 10% retention rate for videos anything longer than 30 minutes video. So according to Vidyard. And again, like if we think about like the webinars that we create, super important to build thought leadership, to really show our subject matter expertise, but we really have to navigate these, retention rate numbers and drop-off rate numbers. And then last but not least, marketers who proactively plan this is a typo from my side. It's actually 365% more likely to report success. So this basically means that
That's huge.
are, a lot of folks, create content and create webinars and hope for the best afterwards. They think of repurposing as like a sticker you put at the end before you ship it away. Today, hopefully, we're going to share with you some ideas on how you can actually think of distribution even before you hit record, before you even create that webinar.
That's huge. And so, it's not just that little extra bonus. It's also, and we're going to see why it's important, really, the benefits that you can pull from repurposing content. It's going to be, of course, time and resources. A webinar takes time. I usually take about 6 weeks to plan ahead between the content, the distribution, and the promotion and actually doing it live. But then it would be such a waste to just end the webinar once it's done. I think it's really, you've put so much effort into it. Why not actually repurpose it and make further content with it? Then it's going to be around increasing your reach, because on different platforms or different formats, you're going to be touching different people who actually prefer digesting or going through content in that way.
And Pauline, let me add something quickly to that.
Sure.
There is a stat from Bright Talk that says that 2/3 of webinar registrants who say they're going to attend don't actually attend. And sometimes marketers say, oh, that's fine, we're going to send them the on-demand recording. They're going to love that. It's 90 hours long. And obviously, research shows that they don't necessarily engage with that either, because of the reasons that you mentioned, that sometimes, different formats would resonate with different people. They want something to be a little bit more digestible. So if you take one thing from this webinar today, folks, it's consider the long tail of all the people who will actually consume your webinar in various formats after the webinar has actually taken place. So rather than only focusing on the pre-promotion and the actual webinar and doing the best job that you can, just keep in mind that most people will probably discover your webinar after it has actually taken place. And this should be exciting, because it means that whatever numbers you're getting right now to drive influence pipeline, you can expect, to really increase that by just making a few simple tweaks that we hope to share with you today.
Yeah. So for sure, you're going to increase your performance, and a couple of other Other great benefits is when you're going to get your message across, because it's going to be repeated. You might be bombarding your audience, but I think we say you need to share a message 7 times before someone actually assimilates it and remembers it, and it becomes one of those just like habits. So getting it across different platforms, different formats is definitely going to help get your message across and make you be top of mind with your audience. And then what I really like is the SEO performance, and we're going to dive into that a little bit later. But today, in order to get your pages to rank well, it's no longer the quality of your content. That's not enough. It's not only using keywords, it's also having enriched pages. And so when you're able to actually multiply the different formats, you're going to be able to add a piece of video or maybe audio into that blog page or that web page, and it's going to help you gain authority and actually increase your performance and again get that message across.
Totally. And Pauline, you're just sharing so many good points. Before we go on, I just want to make sure people get this. The SEO performance piece is extremely important, because when you think about all the different snippets you can create from your webinar, now you have an opportunity to actually optimize for these longer tail keywords, which although might be getting lower search volume, lower traffic, that traffic is a lot more qualified. And which would you rather have, like 50% of the people consuming a piece of content like converting, or 0.00001 from like a much more vague and abstract like head term and so on.
Okay, let's move on. This comes back to what's happening on the social platforms.
Yeah, so
one good reason to be there.
This is crazy. I mean, like, if you think about it, folks, this is the number of content posts that go live every single day on these platforms. So you can see here, I'll just call some of them out. So let's say 2 million posts on LinkedIn alone per day. If you're looking at the Y symbol next to the Facebook, so 3000 Y, that actually stands for years. There's 3,000 years of content, specifically video, that gets posted on Facebook alone per day. Now for the bad news. These metrics or these data points are actually outdated. This is from 2 years ago. Okay, so it's actually a lot more than that. We're not even going to talk about how TikTok is exploding as well. But this goes back to Pauline's point, folks, that like you can never reinforce your message enough, because in a sea of content like that, when you continue to build brand and really focus on the things that your brand is associated with, repetition creates trust. And through repurposing, you can now build that trust in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, and it's how do you stand out? How do you make yourself actually visible? And you're going to have to multiply the forums, multiply the platforms, and go in with different snippets.